Today I'm reviving my tradition of jumping, but this time it's not jumping topics because I'm staying within this series of what the world can learn from, ... But I'm jumping from Far East and Pacific to Northern Europe. And it's a little bit a jump into cold water for me as well, because even though I might be from Northern Europe, well, not that Northern Europe, but more north than Italy and Spain and the likes, but not quite Northern Europe as Scandinavia, Iceland, Finland, those corners of the world. And there are areas that I haven't really researched that much, but I made a start for this episode of Exploring Brain and Mind to look at some indigenous teachings that come from Northern Europe, as in the Norse, the Celtic, and the Sámi. The Sámi are like in the north of Sweden, Norway, Finland, indigenous people there, and what we can learn from these people in our industrialized world. So let's see if these teachings are completely different from what we've heard and learned so far from previous episodes in different cultures, or if there might maybe be similarities. Let's just remind us that even though Northern Europe is still seen as predominantly Christian, there have been indigenous wisdoms, traditions, teachings before that, and what I'm exploring within the episode refers to the ancient teachings of the Norse, the Celtic, Sámi, and any kind of pre-Christian northern cultures. These traditions are often seen through the lens of mythology or folklore, but beneath the stories lies a rich philosophy about nature, fate, community, and the human mind. And just like the indigenous teachings of Polynesia or Hawaii, China, and Japan, these systems contain insights that modern neuroscience is only beginning to appreciate. And the first concept we're looking at is called Wyrd. And Wyrd is actually not spelled as weird as in odd or strange. It's spelled W-Y-R-D, and it relates to the web of interconnection. In Norse and Anglo-Saxon tradition, the concept of Wyrd refers to the great web of interconnectedness. It's often translated as fate, but it's more nuanced than that. Wyrd is the idea that everything we do participates in an ongoing tapestry, that our choices influence others and that our actions ripple outward through time, and that we are woven into a living network of relationships. Nothing exists in isolation. Modern neuroscience tells us something remarkably similar. The brain is a relational organ. Our neural pathways develop through connection. Our identity is shaped by interactions, culture, and environment. And our well-being depends on trust, belonging, and on shared meaning. Wyrd reminds us that we are not separate selves trying to control life, but participants in a larger pattern, an ecosystem of relationships and consequences. In a Western culture that emphasizes individualism and personal achievement, Wyrd teaches us humility. We are threads, not the entire fabric. The second concept is Frith, social peace and trust. In ancient northern societies, Frith was central. Frith wasn't just peace. It was the bond of mutual trust, loyalty, and protection that held families and communities together. It meant we keep each other safe, we resolve conflict with care, we honor relationships, and we act for the well-being of the group, not just ourselves. Frith is the emotional glue that allowed small, harsh environment communities to survive. Psychology and neuroscience confirm that social connection regulates the nervous system, that trust decreases stress hormones, that cooperative groups have better mental health, and that belonging is as essential as food and safety. Frith is the antidote to loneliness, disconnection, and isolation, challenges that define much of modern Western life. Frith teaches us that well-being is relational, not individual. It invites us to rebuild community, reciprocity, and shared responsibility. Next is the big focus on nature, rhythm, and the cycles of the earth. Northern European cultures lived in deep relationship with the seasons, long winters, short summers, unpredictable weather. Life depended on reading the land, honoring cycles, and respecting limits. This created a mindset of seasonal living, balance between activity and rest, respect for natural rhythms, preparation, patience, and endurance, gratitude for abundance, and acceptance during scarcity. Unlike the modern Western world, which demands constant productivity, these cultures understood that nothing grows all year round. And let's remember that our bodies and brains are seasonal too. Circadian and annual cycles influence mood, cognition, and energy. Winter calls for rest and reflection. Spring supports creativity and new beginnings. Nature exposure improves mood and reduces inflammation, and overwork disrupts hormonal balance and accelerates burnout. The Northern worldview aligns with what neuroscience now confirms, that humans thrive in rhythm, not in relentless output. So it's important to remember to honor your cycles. Rest is not laziness, it's a biological wisdom. Next, let's have a look what the Sámis are teaching, what we could learn from them. It's about land, spirit, and listening. The Indigenous Sámi people of northern Scandinavia have one of the world's oldest continuous spiritual traditions. Their worldviews center around the land as a living being, animals as partners, not resources, listening to nature, respect for ancestral knowledge, and harmony rather than domination. The Sámi concept of meitsi, pardon me pronunciation, refers to the living land, not as in wilderness to be conquered, but as in home, teacher, or relative. Research shows that when we treat nature as alive and meaningful, empathy increases, anxiety decreases, creativity improves, and people make more sustainable choices. Something the climate gang should maybe think about and reflect on. The Sámi worldview activates a psychological state of connectedness, a proven protective factor for resilience and mental health. Western cultures often treat nature as a resource, something to use to abuse and exploit. The Sámi teach us it is a relationship, and that's the best way to look at nature. It's something that we are part of, something we belong to, and we need to treat with respect and foresight and responsibility. And finally, let's look at resilience, enduring with strength and spirit. Northern wisdom is shaped by harsh climate and long periods of darkness. Resilience wasn't optional, it was cultural. Teachings emphasized patience, inner strength, community support, endurance without hopelessness, and finding meaning even in difficulty. This is not passive suffering, it is active resilience, meeting hardship with integrity, support, and purpose. Resilience psychology shows meaning reduces stress, community buffers trauma, rituals regulate the nervous system, and storytelling builds emotional coherence. Northern cultures created resilience through myth, song, gathering, rhythm, and shared identity. Resilience is not an individual trait, it's a community capacity. I think it's actually both. So, what can Western industrialized cultures learn from Northern indigenous wisdom? From Wyrd, we can learn that life is interconnected and that our actions ripple outward. From Frith, we can learn that trust, community, and belonging are essential for psychological health. From the natural cycles, we can learn that rest, rhythm, and seasonal balances are not luxuries, they are human necessities. From the Sámi, we can learn that the earth is alive and relationship with the land nourishes our mind and spirit. And from resilience teachings, we can learn that we face hardship not alone, but together through meaning, story, and shared strength. These teachings remind us that intelligence is not only analytical, it is relational, ecological, and ancestral. So to summarize, Northern European indigenous wisdom shows us a worldview grounded in rhythm, reciprocity, and deep interconnection. It invites us to slow down, honor nature, strengthen community, and remember that we are part of a much larger tapestry of life. And again, we reach the end of another episode of Exploring Brain and Mind and another part of the What the World Can Learn From ... series. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Share it with people who are interested and follow and subscribe to Exploring Brain and Mind on Apple, on Spotify, Amazon Music and YouTube. And I hope you will tune in again next time when we explore another corner of the world and its teachings and wisdom and mindsets. Thanks for listening.